Welcome to the Claims Underground podcast with your hosts, Corey Locke and Troy Willis, where we help policyholders just like you understand your policy and how to navigate through an insurance claim. We advocate for homeowners as well as businesses when insurance companies won't pay. So if you're tired of getting the runaround and ready to find out what's really going on, then let's get down to business and learn from the insurance claims experts, Corey Locke and Troy Willis.
Good evening. This is Troy Willis from Claims Underground and my co-host, Corey Locke. We're here today just to give you a little bit of background on myself. I am a licensed public adjuster, expert witness, certified mitigator, and also a retired builder and business consultant. I've been in this industry for over 30 years. And you, Corey?
I'm Corey Locke. I'm currently a licensed public adjuster, but I've been adjusting for 35 years. I've been a multi-line adjuster, large loss property adjuster, and I've been writing property estimates for 30 years. I'm also triple mastered IICRC and ACAC smoke and fire consultant, and also an expert witness just like Troy. So we're here to talk to you today about verifying your experts and how that is crucial to move forward your insurance claim in the right and best manner.
Okay, so we're going to start our show again as me being a customer and having these questions the customers would like to know. Sometimes customers ain't on the show to ask the questions, but we get them all the time. So we're going to fire off this big question today with you, Corey. How do I know as a customer if this expert that's out here is any good? How do I know that he's certified? I mean, how am I supposed to know these things? He came to me because the insurance company sent me to him. So I know he has to be okay. Is that true?
No, I think that we're seeing in our industry so many of these quote unquote experts being thrown at us that are coming to us as bodies to a problem. And they're coming to us initially as mitigators. Sometimes they come out as contractors. Sometimes they come out as engineers. Sometimes they come out as testing companies. Sometimes they can even come out as hygienists. But if they're being sent by the insurance company, and I'm not just trying to rank on them for people being sent by the insurance company, because Lord knows we've met competent people from insurance companies, but by and large, if you are getting someone sent out by the insurance company, they are known to the insurance company to give them a very good report in their insurance company's favor. So you don't get on an insurance company list unless you are known to be very specific, but also in a manner that is to the liking of the insurance company. And it could be that your pricing is to the liking of the insurance company. It could be that your report is to the liking of the insurance company. It could be only that you're a name on a vendor list that is circulated nationwide to every single office, that you as a preferred engineering firm, mitigation firm, testing firm, you're the one that signed a national contract with that insurance company for a proper price that they're willing to pay, and you're going to turn around a product that they really like. Doesn't sound to me that that is a person that doesn't have skin in the game. And you want an expert that is neutral. You want a neutral party. So if that's the word that we're going to use today, the expert that needs to come on needs to be a neutral expert, not a biased expert.
How would it ensure, as me being an insured, how would I know what type of experts I need? I mean, I'm not a contractor. I know nothing about it. Maybe I'm a senior citizen that just, hey, don't know nothing about this. How do I know who I need and why do I need them?
Well, I think it starts with the initial conversation. Who are you sending out to my house? Well, I'm sending out Joe. Who's Joe? Have you worked with Joe before? Oh, we work with Joe all the time. We love Joe. Joe will be very good with you. Sounds like Joe works with that insurance company a lot. And why would they love Joe so much? Maybe Joe is only, going to do what they want him to do. It takes a lot of conversation. And so don't get too impetuous on your conversation with the adjuster. to allow them to just roll past some of the key points. And the key points are this. One, do you want us to send someone out? That's a decision point. That's a point that you get to decide. And at that point where they said, do you want us to send someone out? That's a choice. And the choice will be A, tell me more about who you would send. And B, if this was your house, who would you want? That's the first point. Second point is they're going to be maybe saying to you, listen, we're going to send out someone. There's no choice in that. We're going to send someone out to evaluate. Now, that could be in a fire situation, that could be an origin and cause expert. That's kind of a cooperation requirement because the insurance company wants to know, how did your fire start? Can we blame someone for it that we might get money back? That's called subrogation. Doesn't mean that it's going to end up being your fault that they won't pay for it. As we say in California, stupidity is covered. If you're doing something, it was kind of stupid, you weren't thinking about it clearly, unless you intentionally acted to cause your house to burn down. The fact that you were cleaning something with gasoline with a cigarette in your mouth, that's just a stupid act and got out of control. Or maybe you were cooking your barbecue under your overhang and you just put a bunch of scout water on it and it just flamed up, went right into your attic. That's a stupid act. You should have prevented yourself from probably doing that, but that's not an exclusion. Now, when that expert comes out as an origin and cause expert, they want to know, how did this happen? Dig through the rubble, see if there's any sort of subrogation. You got to let that happen. There's no choice in that matter. So, question becomes one, do you want us is a question. I'm going to send someone is not a question. So you don't get a choice in that matter. So sometimes they're going to send out an origin and cause guy, a fire investigator, or they're going to send out a mitigator to evaluate. Those are not choices. If they say, I'm going to send someone to evaluate, you don't get a choice in that. You might get a choice later when you say, well, I don't think that they were qualified. Or you say up front, how do I know that they're qualified? Maybe that's the best point. The fire investigator, you have no choice of. But when they start sending out people to evaluate your claim, that's maybe a clue that you need to ask some more questions. Who are you sending? Who are you sending out to evaluate my claim? Aren't you coming? Mr. Adjuster, aren't you coming out to see my house? Didn't I pay for you to evaluate my house and pay my claim with my insurance? Likely they said to you, oh, we're too busy, or we're not in that area, or I'm in Chicago, Illinois, I'm in, Atlanta, I'm in Florida. We're not in your area. So we have to use local personnel to come out and evaluate. So those are more questions that you get to ask. Take advantage of this person that's likely going to be hard to get a hold of later in your claim. The fact that they called you is an obligation. The fact that they're checking boxes, that they talk to you, explain things to you, explain the coverage, explain the deductible. Do not let that opportunity go away without you coming away from that conversation with everything you need to feel good that your claim is on the right track. And a lot of that is you asking the right questions.
That's interesting. So, if in your experience, when these adjusters send out one of their vendors, we or experts, we should say, and our customers believe that these people are just that. When they come out and they talk a pretty good game and they tell you how, the great credentials that they got, and they make everybody happy, when we know that's not always the case. And then you run into a problem with these experts. What choices do you have? I mean, is it, can you got to just go back to the insurance company and whine to them? I mean, is there state, departments that, has jurisdiction over regulating these type of things that would make that kind of difference? I mean, what can a person do if it didn't work out properly with these experts after they think they did the right thing by verifying them?
Well, you're going to have to first, don't let someone come into your house unless they've identified who they are. You want a card, and make sure that you say to the adjuster, whoever's coming to my house better identify who they are. I want to see an ID and I want to see a business card. If they don't show up with a business card, maybe they're not a professional. Maybe they're just a body. Maybe there's just some person that is being sent out from another state because there's too damn many people with too damn many claims. But to answer your question, how do you know if the person's certified? You don't. Some of these guys talk a good game and they say, well, I'm a mitigator. I've been doing this for X number of years. How do you know that that person actually knows what they're talking about? I mean, too many mitigators we have that go out, they've never handled a fire loss. They've only handled a water loss. They've never handled a mold loss. They've never handled a contents loss. And yet they're a body to a problem. There is the IICRC, which is a certification agency that certifies mitigators to know what that is. And do you know, Troy, that if you go on their website, iicrc.org, that you could actually talk with the chat person? Did I tell you about that?
No.
You can actually get on the iicrc.org site, and there's a chat option there, and say, I have someone that's coming out to see me. How are they certified? Can you tell me if they're
Wow.
certified? Well, yeah, I'll tell you. Hold on. Which area are you in? And these are just live chat people, Monday through Friday kind of thing. I did that. I had a mitigator that's going to be coming out to a loss. So I checked with IICRC. I couldn't find anything on their site, but their chat option was totally open to me. I checked them. I said, "Hey, are they certified to handle fire?" Well, yes, they are. Well, who's certified? Well, the owner is. Well, the owner is not the person that's coming out to the loss. The owner has never been to the loss. He
Right.
wasn't. He was certified for fire, but God knows the guy who was estimating, he wasn't certified for anything. Turns out, as we got into it a little bit, that guy had been doing estimating for about 6 months. He was a water tech. Didn't even know anything about certifications in IICRC. Didn't know how to abate odor. Didn't know how to clean up smoke. Yeah, you're going to get a lot of gamesmanship on this saying, we're with the insurance. Yeah, but how do I know that you're any damn good? You got to tell me what your certifications are, friend. You got to tell me where I'm going to verify this, how long you've been doing it, and start asking the guy that's evaluating your house, how do I know that you're any damn good? Well, I've been doing this X number of years. Yeah, but what were you doing all those years? Were you working in water? Were you working in contents? If you got a guy that's handling all your contents and all they did was water claims, how do you know that they're going to handle your contents adequately? Probably not. There are a lot of national vendors that you assume that these national vendors, and when I say national vendors, we can easily say who they are. They're Rainbow, they're ServiceMaster, they're ServPro. Um, these are national vendors and they're franchises. And people who come out are franchisees. They have a territory. And so they're following the playbook that they have as the franchise. That doesn't necessarily mean they've been trained in the areas that you have a problem. They're just a franchise that has the area and has a national contract that's likely with that insurance company or their third party administrator. And that's why that person shows up. You have no idea who's going to show up and what certifications they have, but you got to get into it. You got to ask the questions. Don't be bashful. If they say, well, you got to sign this or we're not going to do anything. Hold on. Let me call my adjuster right now and you can explain to them how you're forcing me as a 65-year-old widow, pensioner, that I got to sign anything. You got a little problem here. If you start forcing elderly folks to sign things without them able to read it, at least in California, we do. You
Sure
have a
do.
big problem. You have a big, big problem.
Elder abuse will kill you, won't it?
Ooh, boy, the elder abuse is a mother.
Damages.
Damages are 4 to 5 times whatever you're arguing about. So yeah,
It's amazing how, as PAs, we look at how to advocate the best, representation for these customers and put the best foot forward and returning them back to pre-loss condition. But for those that don't do what we do, a lot of times we not only advocate, but we also help develop cases for litigation that
true.
we may testify later on the behalf of these insurers. And when it goes a lot further than that. So, our skills take us a little bit further in what we do. The things that we do, the way we push is a little more different than a few people. We don't expect Christmas cards at Christmas times. Nobody really likes it.
Not at all.
Except the insurance company. We're not friends with too many adjusters. So it's just not something we look forward to. It's no big deal. But I just think that, customers today, when they need to do some verification, look at some of these state agencies to verify these people licenses, verify. Insurance companies send out contractors without a license often. I've had many claims that the contractor was not licensed whatsoever. And
Right.
and mitigation companies have no license, and they'll turn around and say, hey, we don't need a license because we're not doing any construction work. Well, let's look at that.
Right.
In almost every state, there's usually a minimum amount of work that you need to be performing that requires a license. And then you get the flip side from the insurance company that goes, he's not a contractor. He's just a mitigator. So we don't need to pay a profit and overhead. Well, let's look at that again. Well, if he's a mitigator and he has a contractor's license, which he should at that point, then he's entitled to a profit and overhead.
Right.
There's so many ways they look at reducing costs to different people, and even some of these experts. It's probably some of the reasons they keep inflating some of their costs. Here in California, testing is extremely expensive for almost anything you do. If it's from the hygienist, it's from the pack out, it's from the mitigation company, from anybody, from mold testing. I mean, it's just some really expensive testing out here. But it's critical to at least have an idea of who's doing your testing. Speaking of concrete, from the American Concrete Institute, you can go online. They got a verification area to verify if that guy that's touching your concrete is certified. Here's how that affects people. This guy writes up a bad bill, for example, that's really overinflated, and your insurance company won't pay it. And then you have to turn around and try to figure out how to get it paid. And you get to the point that you have to bring it to an attorney, and it goes to litigation. And so now, technically, you signed this contract with this contractor to do the work, but now there's nothing to actually take this contractor, make him whole, because he's not going to go away because he only got paid so much. So what can a customer do other than try to dismiss his contract at that point? They're going to have to look for ways to see if his contract is valid. And one reason I'm come to that is because one of the things, the way I'm understanding things as far as concrete, is in order for that person to test and it to be a valid testing, they have to have certifications from the American Concrete Institute, which at that point, he's voiding his own contract because he's the owner of the company without no certification. And he's taking tests but billing these customers over $100,000. Right. It can't work that way. And so, this is one of the reasons I think that was so critical today that we talk about verifying your experts, because sometimes you can just simply go to Google and say, hey, look this company up, and it'll tell you a whole lot about that company.
How often have we had, Troy, a situation where the insurance company on a knee jerk says, I'm sending out an engineer. I could have a smoke loss and they're going to send out an engineer. We had a wine loss. Where the wine was spoiled by smoke and they sent out a civil engineer.
I remember.
Oh,
hey, but
no, let's unpack.
They paid heavy for that one, though, didn't they? That mistake cost $2 million.
So a civil engineer is not a Swiss Army knife. No. A civil engineer is not the jack of all trades and a master of none. No. A civil engineer has a very specific and trained background. They are not a wine expert. They are not a smoke expert. They're not a hygienist. They're not a structural engineer, although maybe they have a master's degree in structural and then maybe they qualified by additional learning. But if you have a bachelor's of arts in engineering and you've been working as a civil engineer, which is not an uncommon thing, you are not the jack of all trades to come out and start talking about seismic shift. No, that's a geotech. That's a geotech engineer. You're not a hygienist to talk about the efficiency and dangers of smoke or lead and asbestos, or talk about structural shift or checking of lumber that's been hit by a tree. Guys, that's a structural engineer. If your house has a tree that went through it, a civil engineer is not the dude that you need to be talking to. It's a structural engineer. If you got a ground shift because water, millions of gallons poured out of a broken main and destabilized a hillside, and now you're getting cracking and settling and shifting of a hillside house, guys, that's not a civil engineer. That's a geotech. That's a structural engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have the gentleman show up and you're obligated to cooperate, you get as much information for this gentleman as you can. How many of these claims are you working per week? What is the last, seismic shift claim that you worked on? Have you been trained as a structural engineer? Are you a geotech? Are you a hygienist? Are you trained to take smoke samples? We had a claim where the civil engineer was taking smoke samples. Why in hell was a civil engineer taking smoke samples? Come on now.
That's again, insurance company experts. People trust the insurance companies many times. I mean, you and I both seen for ourselves that how management will shift estimates and bury them that they've gotten from their experts, and they'll even take their experts and make them change their story where the experts ask
You
for
know,
immunity, if they ever caught doing it. It's management, man.
we have seen that, haven't we?
I
We
can
saw
never
that.
let that one go. You know what I mean? And nothing. I mean, you hid it for years, and yet, you paid her. To me, I still don't think it was appropriate, despite how large that settlement was, because she lost a lot over everything. Over what happened, and so you just can't get people back that wholeness in that. And but I'm glad that some of the truth gets exposed like it do, because when we deal with these experts too, we now know the lengths that they go to lowball that estimate and keep from paying what they're actually owed to the insured. So it gives us a different understanding of how to approach that person versus somebody who don't know. Up until we didn't know either. We knew it was a runaround, but you never know how far this runaround goes in these delays and all these other things they do behind closed doors. It's like releasing the information from our California 2071 request. I'm gonna give you pieces of it that don't mean nothing, and I'm gonna hide the rest and
Right,
exact analysis, and then I'm gonna tell everybody in the world that exact analysis don't exist and that we don't have no such thing in information in here. And then you get those adjusters to go road on you to go, yeah, I got my own files and I keep it an exact analysis because I can't have you seeing it. And then I mean, it's unreal about these experts that come from both sides of this, and that an insurance they don't know no better assume that when the insurance company send this guy out, he knows exactly what he's doing. I trust him. Whereas you said this in the beginning of the segment, it's important for you to look into your own people, do your own due diligence to find out somebody that's going to help you, that's going to be on your behalf. Get a neutral party, as you said, somebody neutral, so not somebody that would work for the insurance company is going to keep costs down, to keep work coming to them, and they got guidelines to regulate what they can and put out in there. That's not in your favor. That's the
right,
purpose of having us as public adjusters as well. Somebody who can advocate for that policy and knows the policy like the adjuster should. I won't say the adjuster do, the adjuster should. Many of them don't know the policies. And one
no,
last thing on that is, and you mentioned that how experts come out and make coverage decisions. And
mhm.
you and I both know that's very illegal in the state of California, but
Yeah,
yet
you can't do it.
they do it. I mean, I've heard them say too many times that a customer have told me, and I've heard them say, that's not covered. Well, who made that call? Who did you just tell me it's not covered? Or did you tell me the desk adjuster told you it wasn't covered because you're not able to tell me it's not covered? I know we're not having that conversation, and that shuts it down. I just had that recently at an inspection that we just did. And yet I had to shut that down with the contractor because he was making coverage decisions. And I pulled him aside, very respectfully, and let him know that you and I both know that you don't need to be out here trying to make no coverage decision because you're not allowed to do that. So you
Right,
let me handle that with the adjuster, and you just come out here and write the estimate accordingly. And everything you're not gonna put in there, we already know you're not gonna put it in there because we know the guidelines to what you're not gonna do. So
no
just
doubt.
do your job, just do your job. And yet, a claim that they wasn't gonna pay, me and you both know this claim is gonna go over six figures. And it just, again, these are these experts that we speak about by just people not asking questions. I mean, this was a contracting company that came out, and the adjuster that came out prior to them, did anybody ask any questions? Nobody know. it's so critical to know, like whatever you're reading, you sign, know who these people are. Do your due diligence, check behind it. They got certain agencies that allow you to look them up or call and verify. Like you said, IRCRC, you can go right on chat and ask the question.
Right.
But don't do nothing at all and then expect the best.
I think that that's a crucial piece, that you have to be an active participant. You cannot be passive and not think that you're going to get jacked around. You are the most active participant in this entire, circumstance that you're in. It's your house. You get to give permission who comes and goes. You have to cooperate with the insurance company, but just because they bring someone doesn't mean it's the right fit. You have to ask who's coming into my house. What do you know? And then, these are always the best questions to ask of the adjuster. If this was your claim and this was your grandma, would you send out this person to give coverage for this claim? The likely answer is no. I would never allow a national vendor such as this to come out to my house to verify my grandma's claim, because they have a very specific role to play. It's just like testing companies. Testing companies are critical in verifying if there's smoke, if there's water, if there's lead, if there's asbestos. But if you got some guy that's showing up and he's unshaven, unkempt, rolling in, and you can tell he's not a professional, he probably is late and has difficulty probably using a GPS, and he pulls out scotch tape and is not wearing nitrile gloves and is not storing the
Yes.
sample correctly, then you know you have a problem. You best document that problem. You best ask those questions. Why are you not wearing gloves if this is a sample? Why are you besticking those samples in your pocket? Why are you not wearing a mask if this is contaminable? These are all valid things to ask, and you will be the most critical participant in this because you're witnessing this. Guess what? It's your house. Maybe you need to record this. Maybe you need to take photos of this person taking their photos. This is your due diligence to document the loss. That doesn't mean that you're passive in this. Take your photos, document, ask your questions.
Couldn't said it better on that end. Well, today, let's leave our people with a word of our thought of the night that you'd have to say if you was leaving a thought for the day. What would you like to leave our people with?
Thought of the day is this. Your claim is yours. It's not anyone else's. No one is going to advocate for you except for you. You're the best person to know what's going to be required to restore you. And so you need to have that in mind and be your own best advocate. You wouldn't allow some stranger to come into your house unless you verified who they are. You would want to know why they're there and what their purpose was. Guess what? All that means that you need to be the most active part of this claim and not just assume that your insurance company is going to be there to take care of you. The days of them coming out and fixing your problem are long gone. The days of you having to advocate for yourself are here and will be here for a very long time.
As usual, can't top that. Signing off, Troy Willis.
Corey Locke.
Thanks for listening to the Claims Underground podcast. We hope you enjoyed this segment. If you need more information on insurance policies, feel free to check out our website, www.claimsunderground.com. And remember, when the insurance companies won't pay, we're here to help. Until next time.